Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Now, I actually keep a list of the jokes I've told so that I don't reuse them, at least too soon. And I checked this one out. I don't think I have, but you'll tell me afterwards if I did. But I did find a note that said, my wife doesn't think this is very funny. So you can either laugh or not, depending on which side you choose. There's a young woman who is setting off in the world. She wants to make her way. She finds a town she wants to live in. She's got a great job, and it's time for her to move out of the apartment that she's been living in and build a house. She wants to build a new house. She doesn't want an old one. She looks to start building a house, and she doesn't know how to do it. So, of course, she goes and she asks the rabbi. Rabbi, how do I build? See, already a little funny. Okay. She goes to build a house. So the rabbi does what a rabbi would do. Pulls the Gemara, pulls the Talmud off the shelf, opens it and says, I was just looking at this. Rabbi Shimon is building a house in the Masechet of Gemara that I'm learning, and here's what Rabbi Shimon says, here's how you build a house. And so the rabbi describes in detail all the things that the Talmud says about the house. So the woman goes and she builds this house. It's a beautiful home, it looks amazing, and she goes to put the mezuzah on, and the first tap of the hammer, the whole thing falls apart. She goes to the rabbi, says, Rabbi, the house fell over. Rabbi goes, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Let's see if Rashi or the Tosafot have anything that they can say to this. So she looks in the traditional medieval commentaries, and they have a few tweaks, a buttress here and a whatever thing here, and she goes on. And so she looks at all of this, rebuilds the house, now using Rashi and using Tosafot, the commentaries. It's even better than before. She goes to put the mezuzah up. First tap of the hammer, the whole thing falls apart. She goes back and she says, Rabbi, it happened again. And so the rabbi goes, oh, interesting. Okay, well, we're going to have to look at some of the later commentaries, I guess. We're going to have to look at the Rush, and we're going to look at the Rambam and the Rif. And he's reading through, and he says, you know what? They all say the same thing. See, I guess it's not a very funny joke. Shabbat Shalom, friends. We're going to go to Kiddush, and we'll go. But the point of the time, it's just assuming the mic's not on, but the point of the joke is that transmitting, she's so right. Now I can't tell any jokes without running them by Aaron first. Okay. The point of the joke, friends, is that the transmission of our tradition is quite difficult. We think we're building a house, and it can fall apart. And even if we try to build it off the best wisdom of the people who've come before us, we live in new times, we live in new places, we live in new circumstances, and the house might have new issues that the earlier people didn't expect, and it can still fall apart. And this was brought home to me earlier this week because I don't know if, friends, if you saw this, but a survey just came out from PRRI that about 38% of Americans, not just Jews, but of all faiths, under the age of 40, 38% identify as having no religion whatsoever. And that's about 35% of Americans between the ages of 30 and 50. And then once you get over 50, it's down to like only 20-some% of Americans say that they have no religion whatsoever, don't go to church, don't go to mosque, don't go to synagogue, don't belong to one, don't want to go. This isn't like 3-day-a-year people. This is completely gone from religion. And we're up to 40% of Americans. There's something wrong with the way that we're doing religion, it would seem from these numbers. But the question then becomes, so what is it? Why are we having a hard time reaching next generations with our practice? Is it about the way that we practice? Is it about what we're doing? Is it ideological? And there's different ideas here. So in her book, which is wonderful, but I'm still in the middle of, The Amen Effect, Rabbi Sharon Brous says that basically as we look at American religion, you see one of two things. Either you see a sort of apathetic, I think she calls it dead ritual, a church or mosque or synagogue, right? We're about the rituals, but there's not a lot of oomph behind them. We go through the motions, we check the box. Okay, Lila has a name, but we can move on. We're not really care. I'm not saying that's you guys. Or we see a sort of fanaticism that she kind of says is a craziness that the average American can't relate to, right? And those seem to be the two options when we look at American religion, is either sort of a dead ritual side or a total crazy fanaticism side, and that's basically all we have. Now, for Jews, we've known this problem for a long time, right? There's an old joke, right? Every Jew is on a ladder. The Jew above them is a fanatic, and the Jew below them is a non-Jew, right? That's wherever you are. Wow, I am striking out on jokes today. I promise I will get new material, or I'll just not tell jokes. But what was that, Rabbi? Three's the charm? Okay, otherwise, Rabbi, you are here this weekend. We should have made you, But the point, friends, to get back to it, is what's the issue with our Jewish life today? Now, we seem to, please and thank God, live in a community that is going against that tradition. We're growing, right? We're getting stronger. We're doing different things. Thank God. So what's the issue? Now, one issue of this dead religion might be, you might look at the Parsha that we read this morning and think, aha, of course this is it, right? We just spent an hour today reading about sprinkling blood on the altar and which sacrifice you bring for what thing and how the priest is supposed to dress, and none of us do any of that anymore. Like, you want dead ritual? There it is right there, of course. So stop reading about that. Let's move on from the sacrifices. You might think that, and even the Baal Shem Tov notes this problem. One of the not institutional, the spiritual founder of Hasidism, he says that all of Vayikra is like notes. It's the shorthand. He says it's like a blacksmith who trains their apprentice. So the blacksmith trains their apprentice for years and years and years. The apprentice is ready to go out into the world, make their way as a blacksmith, and the master blacksmith gives them a cheat sheet and says, so here's all the stuff, you have to remember that you have to, make sure that the forge is this hot, then this is the order of cooling, and this is how you heat it, and this is where you use the anvil, and all these things. But the blacksmith doesn't say you have to light a fire in the forge, because that is assumed. So too, says the Baal Shem Tov, Vayikra is all about these sacrifices. It's all about the way that we practice our religion, because God assumes God didn't have to say, you have to love the Lord your God, which God does say in other places. But you find this passion, that's supposed to be the given. So maybe the thing that we're missing is that passion. Maybe the thing that we've lost over the years of transmitting the shorthand version of what our religious practice should look like is, you also have to fall in love. You also have to love being here. You have to love the Jewish practice. You have to love the Jewish people. You have to find something that sparks joy and passion. There has to be a fire in the forge before you can then go on to all of the different rituals. And that might be what we are looking at today, and something that we need to find. It's also possible that what's happened is what happens to words over time, what happens to people over time, what happens to ideas over time, is that they abstract. Now, linguists in the room, I know what I'm about to say is on slightly specious academic grounds, but generally speaking, over time, the meaning of words gets more and more and more abstract, right? The ancient Ugaritic word nefas meant throat, specifically throat. And over time, nefesh becomes what? Soul, exactly, because the idea of the core of one's being abstracts into something bigger. The word profound in early English actually means a literal unit of measurement, of depth, and then later becomes a degree of idea and depth in that way, because things abstract over time. So too our religious practices abstract over time. And, things that were once protective amulets that we wore on our forehead and our arm over time becomes a mystical divine thing that tefillin is to connect us to the Lord. And there's a danger perhaps in our religion abstracting too much, in us getting too into the metaphysics and not enough into just the physics of what we're doing and why we're here. And in this, Vayikra gives us another answer. Because I made the joke earlier, but as you read through Vayikra, what we think of as sort of dry and boring stuff, right? They're sacrificing, they're killing animals, they're sprinkling blood. It was visceral to the 10th degree. You think about what the Mishkan must have smelled like, right? What the Beit HaMikdash there, yeah, I know, disgusting, right? They are killing hundreds of animals. They are roasting them. They are sprinkling the blood in places. They're sprinkling the blood on the people who are coming. You came to offer your sacrifice, and you literally came away with blood on you. There was smell, there was sights, there were sounds, there was hundreds of people. They're all doing it. This was not a dry, abstract thing. And I think in that actually is an answer to this conundrum of modern American religion as well. Because as we abstract, which is good, as we become more theoretical, which is lovely and nice, it's good. It makes us more open. It makes us more inclusive. We should adapt and grow our religion, right? Who but the Kohanim know that if you don't adapt the religion, then when the Romans come, it's just done, right? You need to adapt and grow. And at the same time, we can't lose the fire in the forge, the love of being here, the love of God, the love of peoplehood, nor can we lose the tactile, visceral nature of what it means to be a Jew. So, we are about to enter, friends, into a pretty tactile season of the year, with Pesach, with Yom Ha'atzmaut, with Shavuot, with the Omer, all of these things coming up. There are things to see, there's things to smell, there's things to touch, there's things to eat, there's lots of things to do. So my charge to all of you is that as we go into this season, if you feel like there isn't a fire in the forge, then you got to find it. If you need help, give me a call. I can help with that. House building, not so much, but finding a love, a reason to be here, a love of people, that's something we all need desperately, because if not, why are we here? And once you have that, then we need to find some ways of touching, of eating, of smelling, of doing things with our Judaism. And there's a lot that our tradition has to offer, and if not, then we've got a lot coming up as well. You can cook for a friend, you can get involved in all of the different things that we have going on at the shul. There's things for people to do, and we need you to be a part of it. Find a way to engage in your Judaism in that sense as well. Because that is the way that we will continue to go against the trend, the way that we will continue to grow our synagogue and be together as community. Friends, it has very real benefits. In the same thing where I read about how people are not religious anymore, I also read a study from Professor David Williams at Harvard, who has found that people who attend church, mosque, or shul regularly, on average, live 7 years longer than people who don't. I know. It's good for your health to be here, friends. All right? But it's about community. It's about finding people who want to see you, who you want to see, who check in on you, who want to be a part of your life. And that's what we all have just by dint of the fact of walking into this room. Whether you've been here for 65 years or it's your first time here, the point of coming is that there are people here who want to know you. And there are things that you can do to get involved. You can come to the Torah, you can participate, or you can just eat a cookie at Kiddush. That is enough, okay? Maybe the 7 years is not good if it's all you do, but that is enough to be a part of a loving, growing, fiery Judaism. And that's what we all need. So, I'm going to leave you with one last piece of Torah from the Talmud about Rebbe Chanina, who would stand at the entrance of the Oel Moed on Shabbat, or of the synagogue at Shabbat, and when he would say, "Come, let us greet the Shabbat queen," he would note That Rav Yanai would wear special clothes on Shabbat and say, L'cha dodi likrat kala. Rabbi Abahu would sit on an ivory stool and he would stroke a fire so that there would be a fire burning all of Shabbos. Rava would salt fish to prepare for Shabbat. Rav Huna would light the Shabbos candles. Rav Papa would braid the candles for Havdalah. Rav Chista would cut up the beets that they would eat for dinner. And Rav Yosef would chop the wood that they were going to need. All of these rabbis knew something that we now know. To prepare for a Jewish life, to prepare for a vibrant Jewish life, to prepare for just a regular Shabbat, it takes special clothes, it takes special food, it takes special actions, it takes doing, wearing, eating, smelling, seeing special things that we do because we love to be here and we love one another and we love the Jewish people. So if you don't have, as I run through that list, a thing that you do that makes Judaism special to you, if you don't have something that makes the Jewish time sacred or that makes coming to Shul and Shabbat sacred, you got to find something. You're probably already doing it. Just think about it a little bit more. And if not, come see me and we'll find something together. Shabbat Shalom.